everyone. I'm hoping no one else could hear that weird recording in progress, like Zoom had a stutter. Okay, cool. Woo! It's just me. That was upsetting. I was like, what is that? It's gonna make me stutter because I don't know. I'm like a empath stutterer. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you don't want to know this, but I do the empath vomit thing too. I mean, but I feel like everyone does it as like a yawn. When you know you're out drinking with friends and someone just yaks, you're just like, well, ooh, oh, no. My alcohol still wants to be in my system and give me this nice buzz. I do not get buzzed. Ladies never get buzzed. We have wine days, but we don't get buzzed. And if you believe that, I love you. And you are truly a fan. Thank you. Anyway, you have heard enough about me, but before I move on, let me just say, I have to do my narcissist hair flip. Thank you. Oh, and the other way, that way too. Oh, that made me look like a witch. I was looking for my broom. Let's talk about the fact that we wrote books. And when I say we, I do not mean that I have two personalities in here, although as I always say, it would be gorgeous and narcissism. Ooh, double witch. Nope, those are both going back. Yep, no, I look young now. Rapunzel, let down your hair. The books are, and I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse, Widows Web, Widows Debt, and Foreign Coffee. You can get those books wherever you find audiobooks, and you know what time it is, y'all. What time is it? It's sign language time. It's American Sign Language time, because you know how many books we have? We have 17 books, which means we are missing 11 books. You can find those books on, I am not doing the whole website, in sign language. You can find that on www.endithoughtLadies.com. And since you know Jada's not here, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It is car salesman pitch of website time. So it's www.endithoughtLadies.com. Give it to me. That was good. But you're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cheryl Phipps, and I hail from New Zealand. I am an author, a self-published author, and proud of it. And I have about 34 or so books and some box sets and audios. And yes, I'm loving it. I love what I do. And Winona suggested that I tell you 3 things about myself. I think that's already a couple. I get hangry. And fortunately, I'm a great cook, and that's part of what I write. One of my pen names is Cheryl Phipps, and she's a cozy mystery author. That's me. It's a bit weird to talk about yourself in that way, isn't it? And so in my books, I have lots of recipes, and I bake them. I bake every single one of these books. And one of my giveaways that I have for that particular brand name, and not that I'm pushing it, but sure, go and get it if you like. If you sign up to my newsletter, you get a free cookbook. And these are all tried and true recipes. So, and as Cheryl Phipps, I write romance. They're a little bit naughty, but not too steamy, like, you know, your mother could read them, your young mother. And, I write about romance. I have a little bit of romance in my cozy mystery. What I write is small town. I write family. I'm hugely into family. They're my world. And that's probably all you need to know about me, really. I love to write. It's my gig. It's my passion. And I can't imagine ever doing anything else.
I think that you're an avid reader, because I'm looking at your bookshelf.
Yeah.
Is that Diane Gabaldon?
I know. Oh my gosh. You know what I had to do? I got her latest book for my birthday in April, and I started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so confused, you know, because they're heavy books. And I'm so confused. I don't know about this person. I had to go back and start at the beginning. It's taken me 6 months. It's taken me 6 months to read the whole lot again, because I do other reading as well. But I love her. It's you have to love history. And you have to not mind a bit of gore, but more. Yeah, those are great books.
Okay, I think like everyone loves those books. Like I'm preferring the show because I don't like to do that much reading.
but that's another thing as well. You see, I'm watching the show as well at the same time, the latest season. And I'm like, well, you have to watch Jamie, don't you? I mean, he's just, oh my gosh. The red hair, who knew?
I've always thought that a redhead is absolutely adorable. And I was like, thank you, this wonderful actor, for making me right. They are gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I always thought that way about women with red hair and different kinds of red hair, you know. I've always thought they were extremely beautiful. Never really thought about it in a male way, which is obviously incredibly sexist, but yeah, he just blew that out of the water.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, like, I never really thought about women being redheads being incredibly beautiful, because again, I said I have beauty narcissism as my other personalities. I'm not thinking about you and your beauty. I'm joking. They are beautiful. And there's so much fun. It tend to be a blast. Okay, we should talk about your books instead of another author's book. Right?
That's okay. We're all in the same boat. We're all authors.
We are. Mentioning that, I really should ask another question before I just jump into the fact that you are on the Spa Girls podcast.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Yeah. Mentioning that we're all in the same boat. Hey, heads up, this is a segue and we don't do this on this podcast. Can you give us a few tips for all of us self-published authors with multiple books on how to make ourselves stand out?
I think what you have to do is to stand out, the book has to be good, has to be well written, has to be well edited, but it has to have a good cover. It has to have a good cover that if you're looking at it in the thumbnail, and that is how people are looking at it on their phone or when they're looking online, in any aspect really, that's how they're going to see your cover. So if you can make out something in that cover, preferably your name, and something that would stand out, that would engage that reader, they have to know when they look at that cover that that's what they want to read. You know, they already know what they want to read, or they think they do, and they see that cover and they go, bam, yes, that's for me, that's the book I want to read. It's going to have everything I want, and they haven't even read the tagline yet, or they haven't even, you know, looked at the blurb. They just know that book is going to fit in their wheelhouse, you know. So I think that's a very good thing. And I think also aligning yourself with other authors that are writing in the same genre as you. So you've got to do a bit of research. It's very important to do your research.
I love that. Okay, now that I've I asked the question, I jumped way ahead. Let's back it up. What is the Spa Girls podcast and why should we listen? And then we'll talk about your books.
So we're not actually in a spa, but we'd like to be. The Spa Girls stands for Self-Publishing Authors, and we've been going for about nearly 7 years now. We're just coming up for our 350th episode, and it's all about authors, self-publishing authors from the beginning. What do I do? How do I make it happen? And how do I publish, and where do I advertise, and just everything you could possibly need to know in one place at spagirlspodcast.com. And there's 4 of us, and we love each other, and that comes through. We're crazy, we're just so crazy, and we laugh a lot. And so if you want to learn in that environment, it's a great place to be.
I also have to mention that you're at the right podcast when you see a lady with their logo and you're just like, oh, I want to go to the spa.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, we do talk about mind things, you know, like being mindful and mindset and taking care of yourself physically and mentally, because we have just had the craziest few years, haven't we? And in some ways, it feels like it's ongoing. I know a lot of people are anxious and stressed and all that sort of thing. So we discuss all that, and we talk to people that are going through it, have been through it, how people adapt and how people deal with it as well. So it's kind of as the whole thing. It's kind of you as a person, if you wanted to be a writer and you wanted to find out about it, but be in a safe place, and, you know, women and men of all walks of life, and yeah, just coming together and helping each other, really.
So what started your journey into writing? I mean, I'm seeing all of those covers behind you. So where did you start and why?
So I started with romance because it just was the way it was back in the day. And I started going to conferences. And actually what happened was the founder of RWNZ, which is Romance Writers of New Zealand, she was in a library doing a spiel on writing. suggested that whoever was in the audience, might like to come to a meeting. And I did that, and that was the beginning. And then I started going to conference, and I started learning my craft. And I'd always wanted to write, which is obviously why I went to the talk in the library in the first place. But, you know, you're so down on yourself when you don't know things. You're kind of like, could I do that? Could I do that? And we're not all overachievers like Winona and Jay. So some of us take a little bit longer to ease into it. So it was quite a few years. I would say my first book took me 10 years to write. No problem. That's just, that's the truth of it. But after that, I now write about 4 books a year. And that is, doing that is from finding my people, people that understand me, want to push me forward. And I hope I do the same for them. And that's like finding your group, you know, finding, I think it's really, really important. Like, you know that, Winona, you surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and suddenly you can do the impossible, you know. Like,
it's so true. It is so very, very true. I think it's, or you surround yourself with people who are just seriously supportive. And I've been very fortunate because I think everyone knows I got published when the first time I ever got published when I was 10 years old, and my parents were super supportive. So
yeah.
I've always been like, I can write.
Yeah.
Not
everybody
I
has that.
I can, but hey, I've made a career out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the key thing is doing something that you love and something that you're passionate about, because not everybody gets to do that either. So I feel extremely lucky, and I am more than happy to help other people have that feeling if that's what they want to do, because it's not rare, but it's not what you think. Not everybody in the world gets it, right? Not everybody.
No. It's an amazing journey to be a writer. Like, wake up in the morning and be like, I am a writer. When I was little, I wanted to be a writer, and I am a writer. Don't get to do that.
Yeah. And how many people actually get to enjoy the voices in their head without being taken off with a white coat, you know? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm always talking to myself out loud, and, you know, just constantly. Lots of verbal stuff going on.
Oh, so true. So true. Like right now, my mystery series is like, they really, really, really want to be written. And I'm like, I have administrative stuff to do. And they're like, I really want to be written. And I'm like, damn it. 4 in the morning, guess who was writing yesterday?
Exactly. But also,
right.
And also looking at some of the books that you've done as well, I think when you've been writing a little while, or maybe not because you're doing other things as well, but in my world, being able to write a passion book as well, you know, like that would, for me, it's about reaching out and touching other women and looking into their lives, and, you know, the adversity and diversity and all that sort of thing. It's really important to do something like that when you can, if you can. And I'm just so excited about, you know, a book that I've got coming up for my romance pen name. So because it deals with some of the topics that you have dealt with in some of your books. So I'm like, bring it on.
Do we get to hear a little bit about it, or is it like?
Well, it's actually a book that I wrote a long time ago, and, you know, because I wasn't doing very well with my romance, I actually pivoted to cozy mysteries because it was quite big at the time. But I absolutely adore it because I do love mysteries, and it started making money. So the romance kind of fell by the wayside. But I pulled it out a few weeks back and read what the editor had. I'd already had it edited, right? And the editor said, just such amazing, you know, like, we need more stories like this about women. So it's basically about 5 women, and you know, they all lose something, you know, like somebody has an abusive husband, so they've lost their trust, and somebody loses their husband to a sudden death, and through this, a couple of the women decide that they actually are, I won't say in love with each other, but it's more than friendship, you know. And so it's just all these, and a teenage daughter growing up and without a father, and seeing all these things happen, you know, trying to get her on the right track. And so it is a lot. It's a big book. It just went on and on and on. But
Oh,
again,
no, I understand.
yeah.
I was about to say I had to look like, okay, you started with romance, and the one romance book I wrote almost like killed my. I didn't want to write anymore. I hated it, but it was 8 years long, and it was a huge book. But I definitely understand, like, but like once you get into those kind of characters and their emotions and the adversities that they're facing, you have to keep writing well-rounded, believable. And for us, I don't think we think about it when we're living in everyday life and we're overcoming adversities. We're just like, okay, this is something I have to do. But when you're writing it, it takes pages and pages and pages to sift through all of those emotions and figure out what you really want to do.
Exactly. And I think too, as you get older, but certainly young people have their own stories as well, but as you get older, it's not just your story. Your story is important. It's it's probably the foundation of any book you write like this, but it's your friends, what you see happening around you, it's the world, and you can't help but being touched by things that happen. And I think sometimes you just want to read about that. You want to read about coming out the other side.
Yeah,
I think we all want a happy ending, whatever form that takes. So
I was talking to a poet laureate a couple days ago. Might have been yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago. Okay, yeah. I was talking to a poet laureate about 2 days ago, and she was mentioning one of the things about being a writer is that we observe, and everything that we observe becomes part of a story or a story in itself.
Exactly.
And so, like, but that's our responsibility to observe and write it down in a way that society can digest it, be in entertainment or in thoughtful essay. It's our and it seems like you're doing a great job at your job.
I think it's easier to do well when you love something. Yeah.
So let's jump, because we don't really do segues here. You were special and you got a segue question. It took me a little all the way around the bush. Your first question was all the way around the bush, but I got it into a question. So we're just jumping now.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like every other guest on this show.
Why not?
Right. Cozy mystery and romance. What two different sets of skills did you have to learn to write them?
Well, obviously the romance side of it is not strong in a cozy mystery, but you're just swapping out those elements. You may not have a man and a woman that's close, but you have family, and you have friends. Friends, I think, for me, are huge in both categories, in both genres, but it comes to the fore, especially in my cozy mysteries, because if it's not like one series is three sisters and the other is a group of four friends that have been together since school, and the other one is all about chefs, and they have a community as well, but they have assistants and things like that, and so that forms their community. But also hugely into the pets. My cozy mysteries feature pets, which I don't have in my romance at all, really, but I have children in my romance. So you can see that even though they are so different, there's actually a lot of similarities, and especially when I'm writing small town. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I guess you can have different emotions in a cozy mystery than you would have in a romance. It's not just two people and how they can't be together and then they can. Cozy mysteries is like weaving those red herrings and the clues and all that. It's quite. I'm always trying to figure out stories on TV now. It's ruined so many stories and so many books. It's like, no, I could see that coming right at the beginning. No.
So Jade always said that, because we grew up like writing. We grew up really close, like, to each other. So she was one of my first beta readers ever. I read her my story every day after school. And I write mystery. And I've always written mystery. If I'm not writing poetry, I write mystery. And so Jade was like, you ruined TV for me for so many years. Because you start off and you're like, they did it. And Mary was like, no, they didn't. And at the end, they're like, did I tell you or did I tell you? I know this formula.
It's true. Or you actually start saying the words that you think are going to come next, usually you're right.
And it's so like then recently she wrote her first short story mystery, and she was like, yeah, I get it now, it's fun. So it's like watching mystery is fun again. Yay!
Yeah.
It's only been a few years since I was 12. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's fun though, like, and then if you find yourself looking at TV to get pacing correct, I don't know, for me, I look at TV to get pacing correct, because I find like mysteries take a minute. Like when I'm reading mysteries, they take a long time to get to the plot beats I want. How do you get the pacing for your stories to go?
Well, I mean, there's certain things that have to happen, and I think you have to have the worst part of the mystery, if you like the body turn up or something similar really quick. You have to have something happen that's really quick. You can't be telling the story about the whole town or all the people in it, because that will follow. And you have to set up your main character, sure, but within that first or second chapter, something bad's going to happen, or an inkling that it's going to happen, but even then it's still got to happen soon, because people are just waiting for that. And then that's what the mystery is, because from that moment on, your person or people are trying to solve it. So that's what the rest of the story is all about, and all the bad things that happen in between to them.
Exactly. I need to work on that now. I've been writing poetry for too long. I went back to writing a mystery, and my editor was like, so there was a chick in a kitchen. There was a woman in a kitchen cooking dinner for 3 pages.
Well, I actually have a recipe.
Page 4, she burned the house down.
Yeah. Well,
move it up 2 pages.
yeah, exactly. Look, I don't think even after you've written a ton of books, you get it right every time. And I don't think it's, it starts off perfect, but hey, that's what drafts are for, and edits, and that's what your beta readers and your editors are, they're going to help you. Just get it written.
Okay, so cooking and writing books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you start off your book with the recipe that this is going to be the recipe, or do you start writing your book and you're like, oh my goodness, that's got to be what we make?
Pretty much either or. I bought some pre-made covers and wrote my books to the covers. So I tweaked the title a little bit, but I mean, Muffin But Murder, it's got to have a muffin in it, right? So I tried a couple of recipes and found one I liked, and because they have to be a bit special. And Cupcake Crimes, there's some cupcakes in there for sure.
So okay, I have to ask this because as a narcissist, I'm coming back to talk about me.
Okay,
obviously,
fair enough.
We do have a recipe book. And so this makes me have to ask you the question. Yeah, we have a poetry recipe book. Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
But it has to make me ask the question. Mm-hmm. Do you try out all these recipes first? Like, how many renditions do you have to go through for the perfect cupcake? And
some I already had recipes for, and I just tweaked it, to put in the flavor. But I do try out all of the ones that I put in the books, because that kind of wouldn't feel authentic, if I just slapped a recipe in there. And of course, you can't actually steal recipes and put them in your book. You've got to kind of tweak them and make them yours. And most of the time it's the same kinds of ingredients you're putting in, so it's what you do with them, and what flavors you add. So like if you're going to add a caramel center and some chocolate, and put some frosting on there and maybe some sprinkles, I don't know.
So I think what I really want to know is, how many cupcakes did you eat to get the perfect one? That's what I want to know. And was it like the most fun book you had to do research for?
I'm still going. I'm still making them. So I think probably the cupcakes. I made a lot of cupcakes. And I have a big family, like I've got, kids and grandchildren and that. So, I don't have to eat them all. Not saying I give them all away either, but especially the good ones. I mean, if you get a good batch, right, what are you going to do?
Exactly. You got to well, maybe this one turned out bad, or maybe that one turned out bad. Oh, look at that. They all were good.
Yeah.
That recipe, let's see if we can do it again.
Yeah. Maybe I need to have a little twirl on the top, or maybe, something else, nuts in there.
That's so good. I will never do that with our recipe book. We have a cocktail recipe book. And
you have to make them by the picture, do you? To try them all.
We made every cocktail ourselves.
Was it messy? Did it get messy?
Yeah. It was the beginning where we had a wine day, but it wasn't wine.
This just proves that research can be fun.
Exactly. Okay, let's jump to the Spa Girl podcast, and I swear we'll get off of here because you have other things to do. Like, I don't know, right?
Take the dog for a walk.
Exactly.
No, I do have to do some writing as well.
So, how did you become part of the podcast, and what can what can a listener expect to hear? Because I understand you have like different types, like coaching and craft and interviews. Second question. I'll ask that when you're finished answering the first one.
Okay. So
here, I'm gonna chill.
Get your margarita out. So I was going to conferences, and my roomie, who I'd had for a couple of years, she decided not to come this particular year, and I found out somebody else was looking for a roomie. And so this is my friend Wendy Vella, who's an amazing author herself and is earning like crazy money. She became my roommate, and we got on like we had known each other forever. Similar backgrounds, just same passion, and she is a prolific writer. Like oh my God, she's just amazing. And anyway, over the next couple of years, we met some other people, and two of them decided that we'd join sort of like a critique group. So that's how it started. And the four of us became such good friends. We went away for a weekend and started doing some planning on our own work. And Trudy suggested that we do a podcast. And we're like, what? We're just learning. We don't know anything. We're just, just beginning our career, maybe a couple of years into it. And so we tried, and the first couple were absolutely horrendous. Don't ever go back to listen to the first ones. But
I always start with the first one. Like when I find the podcast, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I go all the way back to the first episode.
Oh, no. We were so nervous, and we're New Zealanders, so we're a little bit reticent, and I don't know, and maybe hard to understand. But it took us a wee while to get into the flow of it. But we already knew some reasonably big names, and we just started asking people, and by asking people to come on the show that you wanted to hear, us as the podcasters wanted to hear, it kind of snowballed. And then we were getting on like really big names, but really interesting people that were walking the talk. They had started off, so some of it had even started off traditionally and ended up going into indie. So they had to learn a whole new set of skills as well, because it's everything. It's like, how do you make a book? How do you format it? How do you get an Amazon site? How do you get it onto Apple and all that sorts of things? And we teach everybody that. We've had some workshops. We speak in person at conferences. But the podcast, it's all free. Like you can join our Patreon if you want to and help us out, because we do it for love, but actually we need to feed ourselves. But you can listen to those episodes as long as, all of them, whenever you want, over and over again, because it's all free.
So I kind of did I thought I was almost done, and I thought of 4 more questions. You got time for questions?
Sure, you go.
Okay, number 1, I have to ask, because, hey, as a narcissist, I need to know, how do you get interviewed for your podcast?
how do we get other people to come
How do
on?
other people get interviewed for, like,
they can just email us. We're quite happy with that. We don't have fancy forms or anything like that. We're pretty low key with technology. So we allow people people email us, but actually we select people, and we just contact them and say, hey, I'm Cheryl from the Spa Girls podcast, and funnily enough the names got out there, and people are like, sure, great, and you get some people that decline or don't answer, but actually the people that we really want have come. Call them, they will come, and they did.
Heads up, if you ever ask us,
sure,
and Jade, and if don't answer, send another email, because we just didn't see it.
You can come on the show, but I wouldn't know what to interview you about, because I'm like, these women are just so overachievers. It blows my mind, seriously.
Oh, I feel like I've done nothing yet. And then, of course, I have to ask about your 3 writing tips for novice writers who want to be indie published. What would you tell them? You definitely have to know.
You definitely have to know. You definitely have to know about the genre that you're writing in. I think you definitely have to nail it down at the beginning and not write a cozy mystery and a romance and urban fantasy and sci-fi. I think you need to nail it down to one thing that you could do for some time, so that you can, which is kind of like the next tip really, write in series. If you want to make money from it, if you just want to put a book up, fine, do whatever you want. But if you want to have it as a career and you want to be financially independent with it, then a series is actually the way to go, because you'll get the read through to the next book and the next book. So it just makes perfect sense. It's not the only way to go, but that is a tip that I think you'd be well to.
I have some friends who are publishers. They're CEOs of publishing houses, and right now they are only taking 5-book series, because they find out, like, on the 5th book, that's when people start to really make cash. Otherwise, they don't make money.
No, that's true. They want to get their money back as well. And actually, when I say that, we're self-publishing authors, even if you were looking to try and get published with one of the big 5 or whoever, even a small press, then you could still get information from the Spa Girls, that would help you with genres and tropes and covers and things like that, blurbs.
So why didn't you choose to go the traditional route?
I did try. I honestly thought that that would never occurred to me back in the day that I would self-publish. I mean, it wasn't really a thing, like when I first started writing. But, well, I guess it was, but not something that you heard about. But I got a couple of rejections, and I had a book out there. It's still out there in the ether somewhere, probably in somebody's slush pile, but not. Somebody's probably left that job, and the next person's come in and got, let's have a clean desk. And it's probably went in the rubbish somewhere. But I'm impatient. I want what I want when I want it, and this was the way to do that, to have to be my own boss, because I was tired of working for people, and to have that control. Love a bit of control.
When do you think the Spa Girls are going to do their conference?
Oh, I don't know. We're going to our New Zealand conference in August.
Oh, your conference! You need to do a Spa Girls Writers Conference.
I know. People ask us all the time, and I know. Yeah. It's time. It's just time. And everybody has personal lives that when you're dealing with 4 people, which I suppose you know all about, Winona, is when you're not just thinking about yourself with other people. It's kind of hard to fit everybody into the same, little puzzle. It's timing and all that sort of thing. But yeah, watch the space. I won't say never, and it is something that we'd love to do, but it will take a lot of effort, and it's not that hard.
We don't talk after recording. Okay. Where can people find out more information about you and read your books, follow you on social media, or listen to the podcast?
I'm pretty much on everything. I won't say that I do more on TikTok or anything like that, but I'm there. But I am on caphipps.com or cherylphipps.com, spygirlspodcast.com, and I'm on Twitter at Cheryl Phipps, and Facebook again, CA Phipps and Cheryl Phipps author. So all of the things.
I love it. All of the things. I have no clue. Thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to talk to us, and for me just being able to be like, oh, I'm so jealous of all of her book covers.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. It really is. You're fascinating.
Really. Not really. Not at 6 p.m. At 3, yes. At 6, So you can find out everything that you ladies are doing at www.andithoughladies.com. When you go to the page, please go to the middle of the page, not the bottom, but the middle of the page, and see the charities that we proudly support. Please support them too. We ask you in advance to please do this, because everybody needs a little help. And we thank you for this support. And remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.